you guys. It's me, Dr. Torie. My book is officially out. And yes, it is time to talk about ACEs. You guys can find the books everywhere. However, I would encourage you guys to go to my website, Be VicTORIEus.com, and place your order today. Yes, it's time to talk about ACEs. Let's go, y'all.
Hello, 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 you guys. Welcome to another episode of Be Victorious. I think the thing that I love about being on this journey toward healing is that we are meeting phenomenal people that are not afraid to share their story. This young lady is a fellow author. What I love is her sense of community, the fact that she's already out here sharing her story. Being an author, sharing your story, what makes you a cycle breaker. And Amanda is one of the bravest people to date that has been on our podcast. I love when people use the podcast to share their story, and she is here with us today. Amanda, where are you?
I'm here. I'm here.
Excited.
I'm
I'm
here.
so excited. How are you today?
I'm so thrilled, like literally thrilled to be here,
They're
connecting with
gonna
your energy. Let's get it going.
tell you they're gonna love you so much because I believe the story just sounds so familiar. So let's start from the beginning. Please tell us who you are. Introduce yourself to our community.
Sure. So my name is Amanda Carrasco. I'm originally from Canada and I'm on loan to the US right now. I am a sexual assault survivor and a family survivor of homicide. And currently I work with an amazing nonprofit organization called Sharp Circle. I'm their in-house legal counsel, and we are working with incarcerated youth. And yeah, like all of your themes, I'm working to break some of those cycles, my own and those that I get to impact.
And you do know about ACEs, correct?
Absolutely.
And tell us your ACEs score.
I'm an 8 out of 10.
And do you let that score define you?
Definitely not.
That's why we here. I love
Yes.
people know about it, but they
Mm.
haven't. Now, I'm sure you understand and know that people do. And I think that's the reason why people are going away from the score. But that's the reason why we're here to let people know that we are not letting it define us. Yes, we have a score. It's an awareness tool for educators. Of course, some people have put it out there and they have looked at it as an assessment, and it's like, no, it's not really an assessment. It's really for me, an awareness tool to say, hey, let's get it together because we can do better. And here you are. So you have to share at least 8 out of 10 in our life. What they want us to know is the 8 out of 10 is early death. But for you, you're a survivor. So tell us a little bit more about your story.
Yeah, so I think there's some great points that you have there. I mean, there's people in the world that are sort of walking around oblivious. Do you know what I mean? Like they're just kind of surviving, really, right? And then there's people that then, want to learn more, right? We do these, take these assessment tool pieces and, to start into reflection. But sometimes people get stuck there and then they're stuck in that victim mentality, right? They're recognizing sort of what happened, but that's where they stop, they plateau. And then there's those of us that are like, okay, we're not done here. I want to push past that. And that's where you get from surviving to thriving,
Yeah.
and moving forward. So it's hard, it's really hard, and you can't move forward without acknowledging that past piece,
Right.
right? So it is important. But like I say, like don't get stuck. Keep going, keep moving. Because yeah, that score it doesn't define me. It is a reflection of where I've come from and how much I've had to overcome. And I think that matters a lot. We're not all set up at the same starting blocks in life.
Yeah.
So that's important for us to recognize. Each of us comes from a unique place, different circumstances and backgrounds, but it doesn't mean that we can't finish the race, that we can't keep going,
Right.
right? But we have to acknowledge, what were the limitations, what were the obstacles, and how can I get around them? And that's what you see, like that community piece of knowing other people, what they've been through, what worked for them, what didn't work for them, and then applying that to your own life individually and moving forward as individuals, but also collectively. It's a both.
Yes,
It's really a both.
it is. At what point did you say, okay, I'm ready to break the cycle. I'm ready.
Well, I think that there's a desire from a younger age, like as like I left home at 17 for the last time, there's a bit of like in and out. And so 17, I moved away, moved out of my town. And, I definitely wanted different. I think there was that desire, from a long time that I wanted to be different. But that doesn't kind of matter. You know what I mean? Like what matters is then actually doing the work because the easiest I can relate it to is like parenting. I look to my parents. I still love my parents. I will always love my parents. But there were a lot of mistakes. There were a lot of things that I looked at and went, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like that. But you have that in your mind. And then you have kids. And then you find yourself being your parent and you're like, "Oh God, like this is who I didn't want to be. This is
Right.
what I didn't want to do." And you are repeating those patterns because they're so ingrained in you.
Yes.
Like this is what you know. This is, so how do you do different when you don't know different?
Right.
This is why education is so important in every area of life. Like literally every area. I want to learn more every day about everything
Yes.
because knowledge is power. That's how you can change.
It is. And we're okay, so we're out here and we're sharing our stories and people don't understand. This isn't the end. We have to continue to share because more people really want to listen. There was once upon a time where I thought I was by myself for real. And here I am on episode 90 something. But I think it's the fact that it's a community and we want to grow and we want to heal. We don't want to let this define us. So you have to understand this conversation is so needed everywhere. So has the awareness, how has it shaped you? How has the awareness helped you grow?
Well, learning, about how trauma impacts your body, like what it does and all those kinds of things. Again, it brought about that recognition
Right.
of, hey, these behaviors that I'm exhibiting, these feelings that I'm feeling, they're normal, but they're not okay. You know what I mean? Like this is understandable. I think it was Viktor Frankl, he said something about, like when you're experiencing trauma and things like some of your responses are normal for trauma. Other people look at them and be like, that's not normal,
Right.
but actually it is in that context.
Yeah.
And so that's really important. And I think that that's a way to give grace to yourself, to forgive yourself for some of those things. But again, you don't just stay there though. Like you push yourself harder to go, okay, how do I do better? And
Yeah.
that involves learning and then it's practice, 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 like because you're going to get it wrong over and over again. And again, like then you feel like a failure, then you want to give up, but you just don't give up because you've got that goal in mind. That's what you're going for. And so you learn each time you fail. And so
Yeah.
each time, each failure is a little bit different. You get a little closer to the goal until eventually what is healthy becomes your normal and it becomes more familiar and it feels safe. Because healthy, when you have an 8 out of 10,
Come on.
does not feel safe. You are
Exactly.
not gravitating towards people that are safe and circumstances that are safe because that feels weird and uncomfortable.
Right.
So there's a transition piece and it's a back and a forth. And so that journey is not linear. It is not pretty, but it's worth it and it's hard and you get there if you don't quit.
And listen to you. You said you are a survivor. You sound like one, but it was your lived experiences that helped you. You have to go through these things. Not to say that, oh, I this happened and we have to stay in it, you guys. We have to heal and we have to grow. And you have done that. But not only have you done it, you get to share it with the world. Congratulations. How was this book for you?
Terrifying. Let me be real. I mean, it was a very hard journey. Part of the writing piece too was therapeutic and very healing. I'll say that. So for people that are going through things, like writing is really, really helpful. I'm not a journaler.
Yeah.
I've tried so many times because people are like, "Oh, journaling's so good." I
Yeah.
am not a journaler. I can't.
Yeah.
But I was able to like write my story. And so that's how I could. And then we had to go through and we had to edit 10 times. Like the final version of the book is literally edition 10. And
Yeah.
so going through it over and over, piece by piece, having to feel it all every single time. Like I hated it every time we had to go through again. I was like, oh, please, God, no,
Yeah.
like I have to go through every chapter again. And I would have people that I would text and be like, okay, I finished chapter 3. Okay, I'm up to chapter 6 just
Uh,
to keep, reaching out, getting encouragement. because
Yeah.
it's hard because it never like this isn't going to leave my body every time I read the stories that are my stories, they're my things, it still hurts.
Yeah.
All that pain is still there, and so you go through it again and again, but you get a different perspective each time as well,
And
and so that was what's really important.
I see that. I When I decided to write my book, it wasn't writing the book because I'd already wrote it. I turned my dissertation into the book. And I
Mhm.
did that because I knew that it was only appearing on ProQuest and educational journals. Like nobody would see what I actually witnessed. And it worked. I'll be honest. I talked to one of my students. This is 10 years ago, of course. And she's like, I see myself. Oh my God, I have this. And I'm like, yeah, y'all thought I was just writing a book, staying after school. So yeah, I think that was the thing for me. And I think that is what worked and what put, ACEs out here in communities that are needed because the original ACEs study didn't really get to us. You know what I mean? It was like,
Mhm.
even though it was the largest study out here, they were missing some things. And when they finally updated in 2023, I think that's when the conversation started to happen a lot more. People are talking about it and people are connected to sexual abuse. They're doing what they're supposed to do in that regard. But people have to know ACEs can be healed. It isn't something that we have to stick and stand in. And I think that's what I appreciate about you in your regards of being brave and sharing your story, because there's people out here that don't even want to do that.
No, I appreciate it. And I mean, I get it though. Sometimes when you share your story, like there's there's negativity that comes. And so you do kind of have to have a bit of a thick skin. And I was just thinking about that this morning and I thought, there are always going to be like critics out there and you have to kind of decide like who is the critic that's coming at you and is their voice worth listening to? Because sometimes there's valid criticism. We can't just be like, oh, I just want yes people around me all the time that just say how wonderful and great I am. Like we do need some people that will speak authentically into your life about, hey, I think you need to step up in this area. I think you were wrong here, right? Some of those people that genuinely value you and want you to be the best version of yourself that you can. But there's some people that just, like yeah, it's like no, no, I'm sorry, but like no.
It's the holiday season, and I was just telling a close friend because she kind of confided in me in some things, and I was letting her know that seasonal affective disorder is real.
Mhm.
These things have to be discussed. Things have to be shared, and I told her again, I'm not a therapist, I'm an educator, I'm just here to, educate. She actually went and talked to somebody, but just talking to somebody, having people there, especially around the season where in some communities they don't want to be around their family. I think it's time to share these things so they can know how to heal. Again, I really enjoy the fact that you shared your story. You know what I mean? Like, period.
Thank you. It's
So
I've woken up with many vulnerability hangovers after such thing, like where you're like, what did you do? You literally have written, basically like a majority of the horrible things that have happened to you. It's literally out there for the world, as a business owner, as a leader, as a single woman. I'm like, what if I go on a date and the guy reads it? It's like, what the hell? So it is like it's very vulnerable. It's out
it
there.
is. But you're out here with all of us that are. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? My family won't,
Yeah.
I won't say they won't read it, but they won't accept it.
Mm.
And so it wouldn't matter what happens. It's the fact that they won't accept the things that happen. And I find that um when I go into different, communities, and I don't just talk to students and I just don't talk to staff or do trainings, but people really want to know, like, how do I share my story? How do I get to this point to even get to where you are? And that's why you're so important. So what made you want to do it? What made you want to tell your story?
To be honest, it's because someone believed in me. Like I have a friend, his name is Bob Goff, and he has written, like 4 or 5 or 6 something New York Times best-selling books, like, and I went down to see him. He had a conference and it was really encouraging. And he said, you need to write your story. And so he actually helped me. He was like, okay, write edition one. Okay, now you got to get an editor. Okay, now we're going to get a publisher and do these things. And so I was really grateful for his encouragement,
Right.
but I mean, I did feel it in myself too, because I knew how much being in community helped me. It was
Mm.
because of other people that I survived what I experienced. And
Right.
so I wanted to put my story out there so that other people could read it, know they're not alone, know they can be an eight aces, and not let that define them. And just kind of say, like, here's some things that helped me along the way. Maybe they'll help you too. Because I've tried things that other people have done. Some things worked great, some things didn't, And I was like, well, but I tried it. So I was hopeful that the things that I've learned, the things that I've practiced could help someone else. And so that was what made it worth it for me. Like, when I was going through those last editions, like I would say the first editions were sort of the therapy for me. The
Right.
last editions were really, I'm thinking about my reader and, it's a conversation with them. It's from my heart to theirs.
Mhm.
And, what could they be getting out of this? How are they going to take this and how is that going to work for them? So that was kind of really, that's the extra push and jumping off the cliff, when you actually sign with the publisher. And I'll let you know too, like I got 57 rejection emails when I first started. So there's a lot of no's out there.
Really? Well, so you know what? A lot of people are also independently published,
Yeah.
and I've heard that from people in that regard to go to different publishers to get published. I didn't. However, who are interested are institutions. There are ways that you can get out there in regards to your book, let's be clear. But
Yeah.
I love the fact that it's about you getting a publisher. It's a lot of people that don't.
Right. Yeah. No, and I mean, thanks to Bob again. Like when I kept sending him, I'm like, Bob, I'm up to 15.
Yeah,
Bob, I'm up to 30, and he was like, keep going. And I just did. And
yeah,
I think part of it for me though, too, which was really helpful was some of the publishers would just kind of, you could tell it was like a stock response of thank you for your submission, but it's not fit for us or whatever. But there were some people, some of the publishers that really wrote notes that just said, like, this isn't the right for me, but this is a powerful story. Like, please keep going, basically,
right,
And so every now and then to get one of those just really helped, solidify. So I'm thankful to all those publishers that said this isn't the right fit,
right.
but keep going, so I am super super thankful for those people. So when you're in your life,
Yeah,
and people are coming to you, just giving them some encouragement even if it's not the right fit,
right.
like yeah, whatever that context is.
This is a cycle breaker. Wow. So what is something that you wish people understood more about childhood trauma? Because you sound like we around the same age, I believe. And we didn't have the word ACEs back in the day. So what is something that you wish people understood more about childhood trauma and or ACEs that is not talked about now?
I think it's, to be honest, I think it's starting to be talked about, but
Yes.
the way that victims respond differently. We have a certain idea in our mind, and because I work in criminal justice,
Yeah.
I have, two master's degrees in law, and so I work with victims, work with defendants, have worked with prosecution, and so we just have this perfect victim box.
Mm,
And we look at situations and we go, this is how I would react in that situation. This is how I think a victim should react. And
okay.
we don't understand how trauma impacts the brain and how it can look so different for different people.
Right.
And that makes life hard. It makes criminal prosecutions hard,
Yes.
because you're looking at a defendant and going, is this a defendant or is this a victim? You know what I mean? Like, what are we dealing with here?
Right.
When you're looking at people who come forward with their stories of sexual assault, and you go, well, I would have fought back. I would have run. I would have screamed. I would have. Why didn't she? Why didn't he? No, like stop. That I think is one of the biggest problems that we have
Yeah.
is trying to box, how people deal with their trauma.
Right.
It's just not reality.
Wow. And that's what makes you real. Okay. I got a good question. What is something that you would go back and tell little Amanda now that she didn't know back then?
And tell her she makes it. Like I remember, being so young and just being like, I'm not gonna make it. I remember, very distinctly. And so many times along that path, so many times just being like, I'm not going to make it. I can't get through this. I can't do this. I'm not smart enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not, you know,
Yeah.
I'm nothing.
Is
And I
that,
want to be like, no, no, you make it.
yeah. And you do, because you're very
Yeah,
passionate about restorative justice. Is that
huge.
is that why?
Yeah, restorative justice has played a significant role in my healing. And I experienced it before I even knew what it was. I had the unique privilege to sit down with one of the men who sexually assaulted me. And that's, it's not common, but it's important. It also has to be done in a safe space.
Right.
So I don't want people to use my template, because I did it all wrong.
Yes.
Thankfully, it worked out right. But because he's a family member, which is so common,
Mm-hmm.
we are so, so stuck on the stranger that is the abuser of sexual assault. But the majority of sexual crimes are done by people that you know,
Yep.
sometimes a lot of times people within your own family, right? So we're talking about community harm here.
That's
There's relationships. So when this person was in my own family, I had the opportunity to sort of reach out and say, listen, like, I want to talk about what happened. I
right.
have questions
Right.
and I need some answers. How are you with that? And he agreed. And so I had the opportunity to sit with him. And that's part of what restorative justice is it brings the victim back into the center, looks at their needs, what happened and how do we move forward. And so for me in that particular context, I had a lot of questions because I was missing some memories, like as far back as I could remember things were happening, but there were gaps. And so being able to sit down with him, he answered a lot of questions. He was truly remorseful and repentant.
Wow.
And to be able to feel that is significant. One of the things that a lot of victims have, like you can't take back the harm. It's done. You
Right.
can't undo what you did. You can't bring back someone that you've taken their life. You can't unassault someone. So
Okay.
where do we go from here? Well, the biggest thing that you can give is remorse, and so he gave that to me. And seeing that helped me also know I'm the last one. You're not going to go hurt anyone else. That's a need that victims have. I need to know I'm the last one. I don't want you to continue doing this. I don't want to continue harming people. That's not okay. That's going to continue to harm me. Like my heart will break. So
Yes.
having that from him was the biggest gift that he could have given to me and brought a beautiful sense of closure to that piece. We don't always get closure. I don't have closure in some of the other areas, but in
Right.
that particular one I did. And so I'm really, really thankful for that experience.
You are blessed. Listen to what you shared. And this is, of course, you already know this is what makes you brave because people do not go to their person and say, look here. And then
Right.
them to admit it and say, yes, God bless you, because it does not happen all the time. But this is what makes you so brave.
Thank you.
Because that experience, yeah, a lot of people won't get at all. It still resonates within them. And you telling this right now, yeah, you're a superhero for real. Because guess
Thank you.
what? You have done what some people can't even gather to open their mouth to share.
Right.
This is
One,
perfect.
For some people, unfortunately, it's not safe for them to do so, right? Because not all offenders are repentant or remorseful or willing to face that. So that's why I say, like, we've got to be careful. With restorative justice, it has to be safe for all parties, right?
Yep.
Like, that's really important. So that's also where surrogacy can come into play because if you're, the person that committed your harm isn't repentant, isn't remorseful, and so that's the situation with my sister's murderer. He's not remorseful, like he's not, with that. But my work with incarcerated people, and particularly this group of men out of CTF Soledad in California, and seeing them transformed,
Right.
knowing that this is possible, watching the remorse that they have for their victims' families, and becoming transformed men who are positively contributing to the community. I remember when I first started getting connected with them, the leader of that group, like he said, there's no throwaway people. And I just loved that, because it's so true. Like we are not the sum of the worst things that we've ever done. We
Right.
can be different, we can be better. The Compassion Prison Project's an amazing organization that like goes into prisons,
Yep.
right? Fritzy's incredible
Yep.
because what is like she says, prisons are just full of traumatized people,
Yep.
right? There's reasons why they're doing the things that they're doing.
Yep.
Trauma is a huge one. Gabor Mate's work on addictions,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Trauma.
Hmm.
It's the aces.
It is. And I just want people to know it. I think that's the thing. If we start the loop, ACEs is the appetizer. Get it, understand it, and know, and then figure out your next steps. Because again, for me, this is the awareness. I cannot be the solution to the problem. And when I go out and do these trainings, I make sure that I know that there are so many alternatives out there. Like how you said with your book, I'm surprised that you're not a writer, but there are so many things out there that I'm a huge advocate for extracurricular activity and creative writing. I would consider it's extracurricular activity. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, you
absolutely.
might not think you are, but I'm telling you, if you can do what you are doing now, you can save so many people, and you know that you're already in the field doing that already. You have to tell us some of the things that you're doing though, because you are doing a lot.
Yeah, for sure. There is. I mean, there's because I do. So, like I say, I'm in-house legal counsel for an amazing organization called Sharp Circle.
Mhm.
I started that with Chris Johnson. He's our executive director. He's an amazing man. Say, out of CTF Soledad.
Mhm.
He was released. I met him just after he was released, and he was sentenced to 65 years for a
Wow.
series of armed robberies that he committed, and then came out after 15. He was found suitable because of the work that he did on himself.
Wow.
And he's an incredible guy. I did write about him in my book because he was worth writing about in my book. Um, and so now he's taken the life ownership packet that he created, which is what he used to be found suitable. It was really a self-reflection piece
Mhm.
that took a look at the harm that he caused. Why did he cause it? What were these contributing factors? What were internalized to him? But also, what was the societal contribution? And this is the thing, like, I feel like we've put people in two camps. Like, either it's your fault and you need to fix it, or it's society's fault and society is terrible and we're all damned. I'm like, both. You know,
Yeah.
like, we can hold both. It's a tension, but we have two hands
Yeah.
because we can hold both. We
Yeah.
are responsible for our own choices,
Yeah.
but we as a society are also responsible for creating conditions that are failing people and contributing to them causing harm.
You're right.
An example of that is that we are so set on punishment and feel like punishment is going to transform. If I
Yep.
just put you in this prison for this length of time, then you're going to be reformed and come out. Except for the fact that prisons are scary, horrible places. They don't rehabilitate. They're not safe. Like it's really bad.
Mhm.
And, then you come out and like one of my friends, he had his identity stolen while he was in there. Someone took out like 7 credit cards in his name. And he was like, I was in prison. I did not do this. But it
Right.
took him years,
Yeah.
to deal with that. So he had no credit. How could he do that? He didn't have job history. How do you get a job? How do you get housing? When you've got this criminal record, like how, so everything is stacked against him,
Right.
but yet he was an incredible guy.
Yeah.
He had done his work, and so I see how these cycles continue. I see why our recidivism rates are continuing to, increase
Yeah.
because we're setting people up to fail. And then we go, oh, look at you making those bad decisions. You're just a bad person.
Right.
But
Come
we gave them no alternative. Like,
on.
really, come on,
Come on. Get into it. Because
right? Like,
what
you
it is.
are responsible for your decisions, but it's hard when like your option is one, maybe two. You know what I mean? Like, can we set people up for success? And are some people going to exploit that? For sure.
Yep.
I'm not going to rosy color it, or pretend that. However, that like 98% that use that to build themselves a better life and then increase and enhance their community, I
Right.
am not willing to sell them out for the 2% that exploit it.
Come on, y'all heard what she said. We're not sitting around playing with y'all. Let me tell y'all, because there's people out here that really is ready to heal. You have people out here that want to help you, you guys. You guys have to take the necessary steps. And this is the reason why I appreciate you because you are a beast for real, not just a book. That's why I said, let me go ahead and put you out here right now. Y'all, she in this community hard. The restorative justice piece was it for me. But then I can see how your story has built you to be such a wonderful creature for healing. You're an advocate. You are doing what you're doing. So you have to understand that. I know you know it, but you have to understand and know how many people are going to be helped and saved just by you telling your story. They don't even know who you are yet. They don't know that
Yeah,
you're really in for the fight. And I'm
yeah.
happy that you're here. You have to understand that. So let's talk about legacy. Mom, children, kids.
Hmm.
Tell us
Yeah. Yeah,
more.
I have four amazing, beautiful legacies. Two of them I have successfully made it to adulthood. Two are on their way, and I'm so thankful.
Yeah,
I love my adult kids. I mean, I did love the little squishy, little ones, but that was a lot. I mean, throwing a temper tantrum because, you cut their sandwich wrong or whatever it is, and I go through Facebook and the memories, and the things that my kids have said and done, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I survived that, like I think I was exhausted like 24/7. So to have, older kids, I really do love this opportunity, and seeing my kids. I talk a lot too with my kids. I just texted them again this morning. Just a reminder, I know that I was a worse parent to you too than I was to your younger siblings, like
just,
because I mean they were the first ones,
yeah,
right? They were the ones that I was like, I don't want to be like my parents, and then
right,
I was because I didn't learn different. I just wanted. But just
right,
wanting something doesn't mean anything. You can be like, I want to be a millionaire. I want to have this, fantastic partner. I want these things. Great. And
right,
like you have to actually do things. And so I wanted to be a better parent and just thought that would be good enough and that I, knew what I didn't want to be, but didn't know any different.
right,
So with them, like they were my huge learning curve. And certainly not that I've been a better parent to my younger kids, but better. You know what I mean? Like I'm not perfect for sure. We're still learning. And especially my third, like he's totally different than any of my other kids. And it was like, oh, what
yeah,
happened here? Like you can't, I could not parent him the same way as the others. Like it was like, oh my gosh.
yes,
So yeah, so they were my test guinea pigs. Like as I started to learn about restorative justice, we
yes,
would sit down and I'd be like, hey, we're gonna family circle. And they're like,
right,
oh,
right,
mom.
right. So we have to do these things. We have to.
We did. And yeah, and I was like, look, because restorative justice isn't just about crime. It's literally about, our relationships with each other, right? When you look at Plato and Aristotle, that's what they talk about. Justice is our relationships. When
Mhm.
things are unjust, we're out of alignment. We're not in a good way with each other. So bringing us back into a circle and addressing conflict, addressing harm in ways that put victims' needs at the center, that create conversation, that don't just lay blame. We see
Right,
that in our criminal justice system. Whose fault is it? And you've got a defendant that's doing everything they possibly can, to mount a defense, to shift blame instead of taking responsibility and accountability.
right,
So, that's not conducive to healing. That's not justice.
right.
So, yeah, my kids got the brunt of all of my tests and learning and let's look at this but I mean, I do love it now. Like my daughter, I was up for a visit because the two adult ones live in Canada. My two younger ones live with me here in California. And so I went out there and my daughter and I had, like a disagreement. She texts me, she says, Mom, I just don't feel heard right now. Can we circle up when you get back to the house? And I was like, yes, yes, we can. Versus like I'm thinking back to like my experience, looking back in the first couple of chapters, of what how conflict was handled in my home. Like it's not the same thing. And that is a reflection of that trial and error. I did used to yell at my kids, like that was my automatic go-to and having the big freakouts and whatever. And again, like God bless Fritzy because she's been open and transparent about her story too. Like she experienced the same kind of a thing.
Yeah,
Trauma background, kind of being a terrible parent and going, "Oh God," but recognizing it's coming from that trauma. So we have to address that. We have to work through those things.
And you're saying that just reminds me, I say it all the time on the podcast, but I get pulled to have conversations, of course, like you do on other podcasts. And I will never forget my second daughter, she shares. I didn't catch it at first, but she kept talking about me giving her a whooping in the same red dress. And she said it a couple of times. And I stopped. I said, "Did that bother you?" And she was like, "Because I still don't know why I got a whooping. Like, why did I get a whooping? My dress was cute." And I just don't do it anymore. I don't know why I did it in the first place. I think it was because that was the rule or whatever. But after a while, I'm like, yeah, this really doesn't make sense at all. So I stopped. No reason to
Yeah.
do it. So I have to commend your daughter because, yeah, she said it. Listen, I ain't like that. Let's circle around and get this together. But that's a strength for you, you can tell, because you put that in them. It starts from the home. I don't care what anybody says. It starts from the home. If we're
Right.
not doing it, then what are the kids going to learn?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
self back for that though.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. But it's like you said, like the same thing. I mean, I grew up in conservative Christian culture. Spoil the rod, spare the rod, spoil the child, right?
Yeah,
Like, and
yeah,
so, Dr. James Dobson talking about spanking and this and that. And so it was like, this is what we do. I went to a Christian school. They had a paddle, like they used to hit kids in the school. Like this was accepted. This was permissible.
yeah,
Adults held the authority. That was that. You were seen and not heard.
yes,
It was Mr. and Mrs. You did not talk back and all those kinds of things. So again, like there's a lot of that ingrained in me.
mhm,
And when I started learning about alternative discipline methods,
right,
I realized, like, wait a second, whenever I'm spanking my kids, I'm really angry. That's
right,
why I'm hitting my kids. And then I realized, like, well, when I'm not angry, I can actually like problem solve other methods and work through different ways of discipline. So once I calmed down, I actually didn't want to hit them. I didn't feel like spanking was necessary. So I
right.
was like, oh, yeah, this is terrible. I'm not doing this anymore. And so it was like, yeah, we're done. We're not. But that's just
Yeah,
say like my oldest two, yeah, they got spanked, but my younger two, not really, like it was
that's
is I had changed.
trial and error, like you said, you know. But we lived and we learned. And
Yeah.
I will say this, you had ACEs back in 1998. You had all the things that they put up on there. 2023, they added some things, but it's 2025. And if you had an opportunity to add something to that list, what would it be?
Whew. That's a good question. Um, that puts
It's
me right on the spot. I'm trying to think of something specific.
plenty. Like, oh my,
Yeah.
it's
That's the thing. Like there is kind of a lot, right? Like there are some more things. I think that the general ACEs does cover some of the basics, but I feel like there could be like a version 2.0 that expands.
And that's what I want to do because I will
Yeah.
tell this. I've had so many people. Of course, sex trafficking is not on there. However, if you go on the sex trafficking website, it's on there. They're like adverse childhood experiences, and I respect that. But abortion has been the major discussion.
Mm.
I think they put it under foster care, but I think people are looking for the words and the terms and things. So I have a lot of people that I support in that regard because it depends on the person that is sharing the story. And so I'm interested in looking for things. I'm from Chicago and this immigration is a big deal. And so it's like, well, what are we going to talk about stuff like financial abuse? I feel like financial abuse is included in a lot of things, but when I tell you this ACEs 2.0 has been an eye opener for a lot of people because trauma has evolved. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's not just so basic anymore. So that's the reason why I asked because we're out here. You're in the restorative justice community, and there are other things that are stemming from that. Like I'm meeting so many people that are talking about ACEs. They put ACEs with physical therapy, and it's like you know, it's so many people that are really using the terms and using the words to make sense because we have to, because it's really helping our physical as well. So I have to ask because people don't think about it. It's like, yeah, that really is a good question. So I had to ask that one. But I do have one more. If there is one thing that you can say to someone just beginning their healing journey, what would it be?
Mm. Okay, I'm gonna back up 1 second before I go to your next question because I think one piece that you didn't mention that I'm sure you already know and would include though too is discrimination,
Yeah,
right? Based on race,
it's
sex,
in
and
there.
gender.
It's a,
That's a big one because a lot of the ACEs too look at like what's inside the home, but sometimes some of that trauma is outside of the home, in your school that you're going to school every day and being told things, or like you said, with ICE and being terrorized and afraid to like leave your home. Am I safe? Those kinds of things. But yeah, so and we know there's systemic,
yes,
discrimination.
it's on
So
there.
I think that's got to be in 2.0. So before I
Yes.
answer your next question, like,
Oh, that's actually in there. That's what made me kind of step out and do what I'm doing now. Thank the Lord. I am faith-based. I am doing all of this just off of the strength. I believe in what we are doing. As you see, I am happy to be here and have people like you prove the point because you can go through your experiences and survive. So you have to understand this is a big deal. But this 2.0, the systemic racism is what happened to me. I go into spaces now when I'm doing trainings or where I'm doing things, and I don't introduce myself at all because people have discriminated against me. I earned everything. I got this degree before Chat GPT existed. And so it's like an educated Black woman for real. Yep. Actually,
yes.
my master's of business administration before I went and got all of my degrees because I was so motivated after my firstborn changed my life. She did, really. So I totally get it. But this is just, it's my strength to help me heal. Just like your book is so much power. Your book gives power. Your story gives power. So we have to be the ones to go out there and share so people can understand. And I think that's the reason why I like you. And that's the reason why I'm happy that you're here. So you have to tell the world where can they find you?
Yeah, so I mean, my website, amandacarrasco.com, that's, first and foremost easiest. But also easier is socials, right? If you look for Amanda the Brave One, then you can find me in all the places. And I do have a team that like helps me. So when you see my posts, you can figure out like which ones are actually mine and which one is this like really, really educated, wonderful, resourceful women
Right?
that I have working with me because so, know your strengths and weaknesses and, act accordingly. So I'm
Yes,
learning though. Oh my gosh. And it's been such a fun opportunity for me and my youngest daughter to go on TikTok. So there'll
yes.
sometimes be some little TikTok things that we've been playing with and doing. And it's just so great. And it's such a fun way for me to like connect with her and do things. And so she jokes that she's my social media manager. She's not technically, but she does help my TikTok. Yeah.
I'm off of mine, surprisingly. People don't know that I'm on. No, I'm not going to say people don't know. Yes, they do. I have three girls, so you have to understand. I am a mom, a girl mom. They are different. They do not act alike. They are different. But when it comes time to dancing and singing and doing all that stuff, baby, we on there. So I am pretty popular on TikTok. It is funny to me. But yeah, I'm on all the social medias, but I want to see you on TikTok. I have.
We'll connect up. I think I've only seen you on Instagram. I don't think so. We'll find it. We'll
Yeah.
get it. We should do some kind of collab. We'll do something fun.
To be fun. Well, I am happy that you're here, and I know the community is going to grab you because you are so powerful. So I thank you for being here. You guys know where to find me. I am everywhere on social media. Dr. Victorious everywhere. And as you see, another fabulous episode with a wonderful cycle breaker. Amanda, I thank you so much for being here. God bless you guys. Take care. See you guys very soon. Goodbye.